Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Win Your Daily Battles podcast. My name is Jamie, and I'm the host for this show. It's truly an honor for me today to have a guest that I've been looking for the longest time because, as everyone is aware, I am a metastatic breast cancer survivor and I'm very open about it. And it really expanded my network to meeting fellow survivors. But for some insane reason, it's just so hard to find a male survivor who would be so open to share their story. I guess it's coming from nature because women are naturally storytellers. We love to share, we love to talk, and men deal with their problems in a very introverted way. They want to be left alone and they don't want to talk about it. So for a breath of fresh air, I finally found someone who's willing to talk about his story as a male cancer survivor. So before I do the proper introduction, I would rather have him introduce himself in the show for today. Let's all welcome Bo Whitman. Hi, Bo.
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. I'm really excited to be here and to also just, speak about the truth and everything that happened and went down.
I've read about you from your social media and your story, but for our listeners out there, we would love to get to know you more. So please share away.
Let's give you the short version. There's so much. I'm 28 years old. I've been in the city for 6 years, New York City. I'm currently outside with my family because of the whole COVID crisis that's going on right now. I'm one of seven. I have four older sisters, two younger brothers. We are the most competitive people you will ever meet, which led me to a ginormous sports background. I was a competitive gymnast for 10 years. I was on the U.S. junior national team for 1 year, and then I got hurt. I ended up becoming a 5-sport athlete. I was a 3-sport nationally ranked athlete. I was a Division I track athlete at Lehigh University, and then even after that, I went into coaching college at NYU for track and field for specializing in the jumping events. I was a personal trainer in the city. I was an animator in the city. I ran fitness competitions. Basically, I was everywhere. And during this time of competing and doing all these sports, I recovered from over 6 different reconstruction surgeries. I had both my wrists done. I had my knee scoped. I had my left shoulder done twice, and then I had my right shoulder done once. So it was a joke when I'm coming close to 30 that my friends were going to give me a walker because every year and a half to every 2 years, it was like a joke at a party or a joke hanging out, be like, "Hey, Bo, like your 2 years coming up." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "What are you going to hurt next?" Like it was this since I was 14 years old. It kept repeating, kept repeating, kept repeating. And then my last surgery I had was on my left wrist. And almost a year ago, next week will be a full year from when I found out I had cancer. I ended up finding out that I had cancer. And I went through a whole entire 4.5 months of chemo, 2 lymph node dissections, and then had to wait from scans. And as of, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, I'm officially, because it was like my 6-month scan mark that told me if you're officially good or not. I'm still in remission, but officially I am cleared from cancer. And during the whole cancer battle, my whole perspective of life switched around. My whole goal in life now is to help the cancer community. I created a program for cancer survivors now that take them from stranded to strong, where we focus on your mindset, your physical ability, your nutrition, and then your support group as well. And it's called Rebuild to Inspire because my whole process that I believe in right now is vulnerability is the key to opening up that inspiration, not just within yourself, but the people around you.
I'm just curious, when you got hit by the diagnosis, how did you feel? Because based on your story, you've been used to getting hurt and recovering. So
Yep.
I think you're psyched for the whole, yeah, all right, I broke a bone, whatever. So is cancer the same effect on you? Because to me, I think we're very opposite. Me, I'm not an athletic. I'm more an artist. So I'm not used to pain. I'm very like all about therapeutic stuff. So to me,
Yep.
cancer is such a big blow. Like it
Hmm.
really hurt me. It took me so long to recover emotionally and psychologically more than physical. So I guess I'm curious with someone like you who's so used to like physical pain and all these, sports injuries.
Hmm.
Did it still have the same impact?
No and yes. I mean, when I found it in a really weird way. So actually this week last year, there was an Olympic weightlifting competition and I was competing in it and I was getting ready to qualify for American Opens, which is nationals for Olympic weightlifting. And I dropped a weight class. It was like the lowest I've ever weighed since college. And I did have like a slight bump in my neck, but I had severe back pain. I had no idea why. And I even had to pull out the competition early because I couldn't figure it out why I was having all this pain. And I was already going through my mindset of something's hurt. It's exactly 1 year later. Like I just had my wrist surgery done. I was like, I already knew. Like I called my mom up too. Like the next morning, I was like, hey, I need to set a doctor's appointment up. I'm coming home. I was like, I got to go see my regular doctor. Like something's wrong. And I remember he was like, all right, go to the ER. Like we're going to get this checked out. We'll get your back scanned. We'll do like a full CAT scan and everything. And like, I already knew something was up. Like I wasn't gonna lie to myself. I knew something was already up because my pain tolerance was pretty high and I already knew it was pretty bad. And the first diagnosis that I got was at, I think it was like 12:30 morning, 1 o'clock in the morning in an ER. And the doctor came around and was just like, there's no easy way to tell you this, but you probably have a year and a half to live. They're probably not going to treat you, and it's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I immediately laughed and I was like, of course it is. I was like, so what's next? And my mom like almost fell off her chair. The doctor looked at me and was like, you're being way too optimistic right now. Like you have cancer. I was like, and I was like, the cancer center is down the street. I was like, am I being admitted? Like what's going on? And my mom used to work in a hospital and she immediately got up and was like, let me see the scans. Like, I don't believe it's this because I was super healthy. I was super fit. I was in the best shape of my life at that point. And it was one of those things where like, once I saw my mom's look when she saw the scans, I was like, okay, this is real. And I mean, I immediately kept that positive mindset exactly like I did with all my other injuries. I'm not dying. It's just an injury. I'm hurt. And like, that's one thing that always helped me so much because the best phrase when I work with people in the Cancer Society is I was like, you have to take this cancer coined term and knock it off its pedestal from the start. Because, for instance, if you walk up to somebody and say, I'm hurt, I can't do something this weekend, they're like, oh, okay, you'll be back in a little bit. But if you say you have cancer, their whole entire perception of you changes completely and it just goes to this sad, depressed state.
Yes, I call it the living funeral, Bo.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
when I tell
Yeah.
people that, I mean, breast cancer, when I had my diagnosis, it was still like cheer you on. Like, yeah, breast cancer, you're going to be okay. But then when I told them it came back, it's metastatic. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go. I get that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I hate that, Bo. I mean, I'm sure you hate, I hate it because I feel like I'm still alive, you guys. I'm still here. I'm still rocking it. So why are you giving me the look as if you're looking at me in my coffin right now? It's like,
Yep.
and yeah, I super agree. It just changes. The whole thing changes. They just think it's the end,
Yep.
and
And
they don't see it as like recovery. I like it when you said like,
yeah.
yeah, you get
And I,
injured, you're gonna bounce back. But this one is like, oh, and then they just pause, and sometimes people break down in front of me.
yep.
So
Hmm. And I do tell people, like, people look at me like, yeah, of course you were like that. Like, there's no way. And I was like, no, but there is a bad side. Like, there was one night, like, I remember I called my good friend up and his name's Holden Greiner. I'd known him since college. He's my closest friend. And I'm just like, it's like, so, and I didn't tell him what was wrong yet. Like, when you get hit with the news, like, you have a year and a half to live, like, I wanted to make sure, like, I get everything, like the blood work, the biopsy. Like, I wanted to make sure, like, I was at the cancer center and they told me what was right. And I sat with that news for like 3.5 weeks. Like and I went in, I remember like 2 days later, I went and got blood work done. I went and got new scans done. I went and got all this stuff done. And every other day I would get results back. And it was the same thing. We're 99% sure it's not Hodgkin's lymphoma, like 99%. And I remember getting to like that third week and I was waiting for the biopsy results. And I was just like, all right, it was like 11 o'clock after I played a game with my buddy on like online, and I like I was like, things to do. I was like, what do you want to do in the next year? Like, say work didn't matter. I didn't even tell him like yet. I didn't tell him how bad it was. I just told him I had cancer, but I was like, let's do it. And I started making the list, and then he kind of caught on and was like, can we not do this? And he was like, this isn't going to be bad. Like, you're one of the strongest people I know. Like, you haven't even been wavered at all or tilted to one side. And why are we doing this now? I was like, because it's becoming more real. I was like, but you're right. So I remember like scrapping it and I never looked at it the next day. And then like 2 days later, when the biopsy results came back, it turned out to be this really rare form of germ cell cancer that's super aggressive that mimics like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And the only difference is like a germ, like not a germ, it's a cell type in the biopsy, which showed us that it was different. Thank God. But there is a bad side. Like it wasn't just like this whole laugh at myself, like of course as it is. There was a dark place at one point.
So it does become real eventually, right? You agree with me? Because
Yeah.
I'm similar to you, Bo. I may not be an athlete, but I'm very optimistic. Like I'm an optimistic soul. That's why I call my name Jamie Wins. It's a
Yep.
self-reinforcement that
I
I'm
love it.
winning day by day. And even if I have that spirit, I still, every scan I get, and my doctor would say something like, oh, it's progressing or this and that. It just, I have a good way of like just dismissing it. I'm very nonchalant. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to be fine. But then one day it really hits sometimes like, this is really, this is the real deal. You know, this is,
Yep.
I can't just keep brushing it away. But what is the common misconception about males getting cancer? Because males don't talk about this all the time.
Well,
I
it
mean,
goes back. Okay, so it goes back to, the funny thing about this is how I shifted from such a young age to being so open about everything. And it's funny because it's been coming up on my phone more and more, and it's starting to piss me off more and more. Are people are having GIFs now or memes where it shows like different pictures. Like for instance, there's one where a hand coming out of water and it says like men's mental health, and then it says how we deal with it, and it's someone gives them a high five, and then the hand sinks down, and it's like good job. And it's like all we do is we patch it up, or we hide those feelings, or we don't really express it, because when we're brought up, we're taught about not really showing weakness. Like when I was a competitive gymnast, it was if you showed any weakness or if you showed that you were hurt, you lost your spot. Like the coach was like, okay, go heal up. Then when you're done and stop being a baby, you can come back and train. That's why if you looked at most like gymnasts, we're hurt all the time at such a young age, or we're getting hip replacements, shoulder replacements, because we're just pushing to the farthest limit. Hence why I'm always broken. But and it's a lot of people that are listening. Also, it's the time that we're brought up, I guess you can say, like early in the like early 1920s, 1930s. It was always the same thing. Like we always had the same regiment. It was like go to school, get a job, do this, do that. If you get hurt, put dirt on it. Keep moving forward. It was always this like next thing you kept on doing. You didn't worry about that stuff. You were never open because it showed how weak you were. And that's that barrier I've been trying to push past, because I believe the more open you are, the stronger you're going to become, not just inside, but outside. And I always laugh about it because when people come up to me and they say, oh, it's impossible, like I can't be more vulnerable. And I'm like, all right, let's use an example of a really hard situation in your life. Like if I'm talking to a cancer survivor, I'm like, okay, when you first told people you had cancer, did you cry? 10 times out of 10, they said, yes, I cried my eyes out. And I was like, okay, after how many times did you not cry? And she was like, maybe, 10, 15 times after I said it, I stopped crying and I felt better about it because I was able to say it. I'm like, that's you being vulnerable. You're opening up, you're telling about it, you're becoming stronger inside, and you're able to not cry about it because you're strong enough to say it more proudly, more openly, more vulnerable enough to like open it up and be that inspiration to be like, I'm okay at the end of the day. And I think that's the big thing that this whole, I don't know, era that we're still facing it. But the great part is we're finally starting to really like push through it, and people are starting to address it more and more, which I think is amazing.
how
Yep.
do we prevent people from kind of giving us that pity look? Because I think that's the trade-off when you're opening up with
Yep.
your story.
Yep.
I mean, before I came out, I really thought about it, because I said like a part of me doesn't want to make it as my brand. I don't want people to see me and like, oh, cancer girl. I want people to see that,
Yep.
oh, she's the girl recovering or fighting or winning over cancer. It's more like, this is my healing journey. This is my way to survive, even if I have hurdles. I want people to see that I'm pushing in strong, and not like, oh, she's the one with cancer. Like, how do you, what's your interpretation of that? Like, didn't you get
You
scared that people will see you and like, oh, you're the cancer boy? Like, that's the guy with
Yep.
cancer.
So that is the one thing I've never been able to let go of, from a lot of like the sympathy vote, where
Yeah.
like we're talking about, like when other people look down on you. And I remember I was in New York City, and it was like maybe my first round into chemo, and I went to this fitness event, and it was with all these workout guys that are just these big dudes, and we loved throwing around weight. And it was funny because like I was the smallest one out of all of them. These guys are like 6'4", 6, they're big guys. And like I walked downstairs and everyone was so excited to see me. And I remember one guy was just like, all right, let's change the workout since Bo's here. And I immediately was just like, no. I was like, no, I'm here to watch. I will jump on the bike in the back and bike because I can't pick up a barbell right now. Like, do the workout. Like, I do not want you changing it. We have 4 more events this next month. If I come to any of those events and I hear that you changed it because of me, I will never come back again. It's like, all I want you guys to do is be you. I have cancer. We all know that. I'm perfectly fine. That's why I'm here. I'm here to distract myself. So let's just pretend nothing's happening. And immediately after, it took me, I don't know, a minute to say all this in front of like 40 guys. But after I said it, everyone immediately just, it was like a switch. Like everyone was back to normal. And like from that point on, like even now, like during my whole cancer journey, like people visited me in the hospital, and it wasn't like when they came and saw that my chest and my hip was completely opened up, they came in and was like, what's up, badass? Like, are we walking today? Like, it was immediately this positive things. They knew exactly what I wanted to hear in terms of like, they didn't want to know like, hey, how you feeling? How you doing? Of course, they asked that later down the road, like
Yes.
off to the side kind of, but they didn't change who I was just because I had cancer. And like, you need to be super upfront about that and just, be honest about it. And that's what I told my family too. I came home, I was like, hey guys, yeah, we have this, but it's not real until I have the IV in my arm, my head is shaved, and I'm in a bed getting chemo. Then we'll deal about the emotions and everything. But right now, like, we know I'm not going to die. We know everything's fine. Let's just keep on going. And from that day, we just, hung out, played soccer, tennis in the backyard, hung out, grilled, got a puppy. Like, we did all the crazy things that we needed to do just to keep on living life.
I like that a lot because I think people listening who are curious how to treat people with cancer will learn from what you just shared. Because I think there's a common misconception that we want to be babied or pitied. Because I get that a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Like when they, oh, are you okay? Are you sure you can walk? Are you sure? I'm like, yes. Like I'll let you know if I can't. Don't tell
Yep.
me how I should feel or how my body should be. Like don't baby me. Don't treat me so special just because
But
I don't like it when I get that. Like, I mean, if okay, exception. If you can see that I'm struggling to breathe or I'm feeling weak and I really want to cry, then let me do it. But if you see me like, hey, what's up, you guys, and then like, are you okay? Like suddenly there's that
mm-hmm.
pull of the mood. It's like I came here. I just finished yoga. I'm happy as a pie, and then suddenly you come to me and say, "Oh, are you okay? Are you sure?" I'm like, I hate that. So I think people should learn that you gotta ride with what the survivor is feeling. Don't pull down the mood or don't bring the cancer talk or the health talk if this person is talking about something else or they're having a good day, they're
Yep.
having a good energy right now. Are you gonna say
You
something?
also, yeah, you
Yeah.
also have to remember too at the same time, if you're a cancer survivor listening, you can't be stubborn with it though. Like, for example, like, I'm the type of person that will, if I'm working out, I will never ask for help unless I really need it. Like, I remember like I was supposed to walk a mile a day, and there were some days, and we've all been there, where we can barely even have the strength to walk to the bathroom or walk to the door or to the couch. And I remember going for a walk and I made it like halfway somewhere, and I just remember like I was fighting so hard. I was in front of like my mom, my sister, my brother. I was just trying to pace so they wouldn't see my face, and I was struggling so hard. And I finally took a seat on this bench, and I was just like, and my brother was like, you can't get up, can you? And I was like, nope. And he was like, you got to ask for it. I was like, ask for what? He was like, ask for my help. I was like, son of a bitch. We had to get an Uber. He had to help me up into the Uber, and like I had to get home then. And from that point on, I was like, okay, I will let you know what days I'm feeling really tired and where I might need help. So you have to understand it's a two-way street. Like, you can tell
Yes.
them to be something, but you also have to be open enough or vulnerable enough to say when you need help, and it's okay to need help.
It is very okay. I think this is one point that I would like to stress to male survivors because it's sometimes the male ego is so strong that I want to be the strong guy. I don't want to look like a wimp and ask for help. But in reality, it really makes life easier. You get strong bonds with people and it's absolutely okay. We're all humans. Once in a while we do need assistance, and that's what makes humanity life go together. We need each other. I really believe so
Exactly.
because I was stubborn at some point. Bo, I get that. I'm very like independent. I'm an independent soul. So I feel like I want to, be self-made and do this. And I don't like it when people always like baby me and all that. Like I've always been that kind of person. So cancer really taught me to need people and that it's absolutely okay. That it's not bad. It's actually cool that you reach out and you voice out your needs, and you'll be surprised how many people are so willing to help. Like I've had
Yep.
strangers just come up to me and be like, "Do you need help buying groceries?" Especially with the coronavirus situation. They were like, "I don't know if you're high risk, but if you need anything, I'm going to Trader Joe's right now. Let me know." I'm like, wow, it's so
Yeah,
interesting
it's
how
amazing.
people just connect, and if you just
Hmm.
open up, if you just let them in. Bo, since your advocacy is about from being stranded to strong, is that right?
Hmm.
Stranded to strong. I
Exactly.
like that. Very cool.
Hmm.
Because mine is win your daily battle. So yours is stranded to strong. So how exactly can you go from stranded to strong? Can you please share useful
Yep.
tips for survivors?
So I like to consider myself an elite athlete my whole life. Like I was training at a competitive level. I was a Division 1 athlete, nationally ranked in gymnastics, and then Olympic weightlifting, lifting at a high level. And when I got the cancer, like my first thing, like I thought of immediately, I was like, and it goes with all my surgeries. I was like, oh my God, am I going to be able to come back from this? Am I going to be able to get back to where I was? Because I was in the best shape of my life. And I remember just sitting there and being like, I have to get my whole stomach opened up. I have to get my neck opened up. I'm going to drop all this weight. I'm not going to lift for a year. And I was like, I don't know how this is going to happen. And I remember like going through the surgery, both surgeries. And I remember finally getting to the point where I got to the recovery and I asked my doctors, I was like, okay, I'm done recovering. I was like, what can I start working out wise? Like, what can I do? And the doctor was like, oh, you can go back to lifting. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, go back to whatever you're doing. And I was like, so you're telling me I can walk in the gym and put 400 pounds in the bar and squat 400 for 4? And he's like, no, 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 no. Like, go back. Like, here's some groups that you can go to. Here's some things. And most of the groups I looked at were like yoga classes, like some flow stuff, some easy like movement. There was like therapeutic groups we can go to, but there wasn't like how to get back into like the fitness world, or how to get back into just your daily life if you're like a hectic person moving around all the time that has high energy. Because all of us know, like after this battle that we've had, or we get to the part in our battle where we're not just physically drained, but we're emotionally and mentally drained. Like we are down to like a rock bottom position. And for me, this definitely happened. Like I remember when the doctor told me, like, all right, like you're done, like you're a survivor, like there's still like 10% chance to come back, but you're pretty much done, like your journey's over. I sat there and I was like, okay. Like there wasn't a thrill of excitement, there wasn't this, it didn't really hit me because I was at this such a rock bottom position of fighting for so long, going through all the different types of chemo affecting my lungs, getting these major surgeries, like the recovery. And then I was like, the whole thing dawned on me because I was like, I've done this before. It's like I've done this with all my reconstruction surgeries. I've done this when I was helping all these high school athletes that were ranked high nationally for all their shoulders or knees or whatever they're going through. Like I helped them the same way. So what's different? There's nothing different. I go back to that same philosophy of that I'm only injured. So I went back and I started with funny enough, I went through gymnastic strength training and just started with the fundamentals, stability, core movements, and then light cardio movements. And then I started adding on to that. And I didn't even use weights until 3 months after I was like cured. And then I started adding on weights. And now I'm finally back to using a barbell for once, which is like so weird because a barbell itself used to feel like a stick and now it feels like a 200-pound thing. But um, with Stranded to Strong, I created this program that we focus on your mindset of getting it away from this whole negative aspect of cancer and turning it around into like not the best thing that could have happened to you, but it's almost like a life reset. Okay. Everything happens for a reason. My mother has told me that since I was like born, probably. I hear it so many times, but everything does happen for a reason. Okay. And like for instance, the coronavirus right now, it's a reset in life. It's a wake up call for everyone. Cancer is a wake up call, I believe, for everyone to do something to set yourself up. 3 months before I got cancer, I sat down with my good friend and I was like, I work 8 different jobs. I don't know what I'm doing. Swear to God, he told me within the next 2 to 3 months, you're going to find out something. It's going to change your life forever, or something's going to happen to you. You got to be damn right that I called him in 3 months and told him I have cancer. I might have blamed him for it as a joke, but I told him that happened,
Wow,
and
he
then now
manifested.
manifested it. So now we do that. So I go through mindset goals. We do goal setting, and it's not like a thing where it's like, okay, everyone, we're up at 5 o'clock every day. Let's go. Like, no, you do baby steps. There's different types of goal settings. There are different things in terms of resetting your mind into a more positive mindset. We do nutrition stuff. I have someone come on that talks about nutrition. I know nutrition is a full different ballpark when we're dealing with cancers, but I bring someone on that talks about just, healthy eating to remind yourself of how to get back on track in that sense. I take you guys through 3 workouts a week. And then the support group is what we really look for, because you're going through this program with other people. And the thing that I found out with the support group is 9 times out of 10, when I talk to people that go to support groups, the support group ends up being who had it the worst, or like who's complaining about something the worst. And I'm like, that's not what we're talking about here. We're
It's
talking about
I
how,
call it the pity party. That's why
yeah,
I'm very selective with groups as well. I
yep,
barely join just because at the end of the day, I feel drained and I feel worried for myself because I hear
oh,
all these
exactly.
sad stories and they're just planning their death and funeral, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
I can't deal with it right now because I'm all about living. I'm all about how
Yep.
to win.
Yep. And that's why the group is there. Like, they have group activities together where they have to work together to find out like the positive mindset of this. And it's a 2-month program. The first month's about that. And then the second month, once they're comfortable with each other, we start diving into their true story. We dive into their cancer journey. We dive into what the most negative part is, what the most positive part is. What is the takeaway? So if someone that gets diagnosed with their same thing right now, what should they know going into it? What's your best advice? So what I do by the end of the 60-day program, they post their stories, or they go live on Facebook and they say what their story is. So they can say, okay, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. So they can not just inspire themselves, being confident enough to say, this is my deep, dark secret, but as well as anyone that's listening that has the same cancer can relate to me. And if they need help, can reach out to me and talk to me.
That's amazing. So, can we know more about this? How can the listeners out there follow you
Yeah,
or get in touch with your programs?
of
Please
course.
share your business, your gig, your platform. We would love to know
Of
more. I'm
course.
sure people
So
listening would be very hungry for this, especially the male survivors. I really feel that they don't have enough support and relatability because not a lot are still, it's still a work in progress in terms of opening up. So
yep.
that's why I'm so grateful that you agreed to do this show. But yes, please share your platform to us.
So my Instagram is Beau dot Whitman, Whitman. And then my website is beauwhitman.com. And to sign up for this program, it's called Rebuilt to Inspire. That's the saying I've always had since I was about 14, because my mantra was, whenever I got hurt, I was like, I'm going to prove everyone wrong that I can come back from the surgery. Because when I had my first shoulder blowout, they were like, it was right when arthroscopic came out, and they were like, man, that makes me feel old. They were like, we have no guarantee that you're ever going to be able to lift your arm up here. Like, I was at Rothman Institute. It was like one of the first surgeries they've ever done with it. And that was with the rest of my surgeries going through, but I ended up proving them wrong. And then the same thing with the cancer journey. I opened up on day one. It was just like, this is what's happening. But it's on my website. It's called Rebuilt to Inspire. It's also in the link in my bio on my Instagram. I'm just wrapping up my second group of people right now. And September 1st starts the next round of everything that's happening. So,
Awesome. And for those of you who didn't catch that, I'm going to be very particular. I always write the website or the information of my guests on the description of this podcast. So please make sure to check it and follow Bo, because I think he has a very good platform. This is inspiring not just for anyone going through cancer, but just generally going through hurdles in life, especially with the situation right now with coronavirus. We're all in an uncertain limbo. So I'm learning a lot from him too, because as a woman, we're more emotional. So I think men are in an advantage in terms of like they can disconnect from their emotions. And I can see with Bo that he's just like a go-getter, like let's just focus on getting better. And I think that's just the secret formula to move forward from catastrophes and from, from diseases and all these negative things that's just like coming to our lives out of the blue. I think it's just really your mindset, how you view it. You shouldn't let it
Exactly.
consume you and rule your life. Bo, for the final question, I always ask all my guests in this podcast, what would you consider your daily battle in life, and how do you win over it?
Oh, such a good question. Such a good question.
Just the daily, not
Um,
nothing big. I know that you're all about achieving the big things for athletic accomplishments, but just the little daily things that annoy you, but it's very recurrent, and you have to always work on winning over it.
I used to never have this issue, but it's become an issue with me. It's the fact of just staying on track and motivated. Like I was the type of person that was like up every day at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, getting ready to work out or like teach a class. Um, and now I find myself like, wait an hour, I'll wait 2 hours. And like I had to like every morning now. I started. It's funny. I started the whole program because I was like, I don't just need it. I need it not for everyone else that's going through the journey, but I need it myself. And I started doing it, and I started something else because you just talked about a second ago, like everyone else like needing something. Like I had a ton of people that reached out to me that don't have cancer that are like, how do we become so like vulnerable, or just like you're doing all this stuff still. And I'm like, every day I write a list, 3 words of what's going to set my day. And then I also do every Monday that sets my week up. It's called 15 vulnerability. And I go on my Instagram and I do 15 seconds of vulnerability. And I say, what is the most vulnerable thing in my life? And it's a 2-part thing, because I can say what I'm scared about right now, or I can say about something I want to do. And it's funny, like I have people that go on and be like, I want to learn like how to travel, like, okay, how to travel to France, or like do something in France. Can anyone help me? Okay, you're putting yourself out there, you're being vulnerable. Now it's a two-way street though. Whoever answers you is also being vulnerable and open enough to help you out. So, and I've had so many people reach out. Like I had a good friend who reached out the other day and was like, I need somebody to do graphic design work for me. Like I don't have the cash right now, but I really need to do this so I can start my business up. And I was like, I'm free this weekend. I'll do it for you. Like I used to be an animator, or graphic designer. So I did it for him. I was like, here you go. I was like, it's not amazing, but like when you have time and you want to make it done, you have at least like a good blueprint or an outline to do it in.
It lets you just take it one step at a time instead of looking at the big picture. I think
Yep.
that's the important part, because if you look at Mount Everest and you're thinking about just going on top, you get overwhelmed. But if you think about it like, okay, one step at a time, we're going to go here first, and
Base
then,
camp at a
okay, we
time. Yep.
check, and then next, and then next. I think eventually you look back and realize that, oh my God, I did it. But you didn't think about the whole picture. It's just a little day by day, step by step process. Wow, Bo, thank you. Thank you for
Of
even this, when
course.
you're talking about reaching out and suddenly people become vulnerable. This is it. Like what we did today
Yeah, it is.
is showing vulnerability. I reached out to you. I just put a hashtag cancer male survivor, and you popped up, and I sent you a message, and voila, here we are doing a podcast and exchanging
Love
stories.
it.
So yay, thank you. Thank you for your tips, and thank you for sharing your story. I would definitely follow your journey and keep cheering for you.
Thank you.
And yeah, so let's keep winning in life. We got this. See, people, two cancer survivors right here. We're here alive, doing our thing, doing our jam. It won't stop us, right, Bo? It's not
Nope.
gonna. The
Nope.
C word is just. I like your point of view. It's just like you're injured and
You're injured.
you're gonna
That's all
bounce
it is.
back. It's not the end. It's not a dot of your life. Until you're
Exactly.
6 feet under, it's not done. I always believe that. Until I'm breathing, until my brain is functioning, until I can still move, I'm still gonna keep going.
Yeah.
There's
I love it.
always things to look forward to in life. Life is amazing. I feel like I always say this to my followers, it's worth the fucking fight because it's beautiful. The sunshine, friendships, love, art, sports. There's so many things that the world has to offer, and we just need to keep going.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
Thank you again, Bo. I appreciate your time and your vulnerability. And to all my listeners out there, as I always end the spiel for the show, winning your daily battles is not about the grand things. We heard it from someone who's an elite athlete right here. It's not about achieving major things, but it's the little day to day thing that adds up to a big goal. It's the focus on your near vision, achieving this and then checking and then moving forward and giving yourself a pat in the back as you go along the process, because it means that you're moving forward no matter how slow it is, even if it's baby steps. It's all about moving forward. On behalf of Bo Whitman, thank you so much for listening. For my podcast for today, this has been Jamie signing off. Let's keep winning.